Dear basketball, I knew one thing was real. I fell in love with you.
Welcome back to LA Times Today. Kobe Bryant, he was much more than just an iconic basketball star. LZ Granderson joins me once again to talk about Kobe Bryant, the man off the court. And I want to talk about that because we spent some time on the court, and I think we know what he was as a player, right? He's going to go down as one of the all-time greats. What do you think about Kobe, the man off the court in the last few years?
Well, when he said Mamba out after his last game,
Yeah.
you kind of had the feeling that we wouldn't see him in that building hardly at all, that he was done with basketball. He talked about his role as a father, but because his daughter loved the game so much, that brought him back to the game and brought him back to Staples. So that just gives you a little bit of the idea of what it meant to him to be a dad. And he spoke about how his time in the pros made him a little bit less present, and that now that he was free, he was able to be not just present, but actively involved.
What about Kobe becoming even free speaking out about things the last few years? Just becoming more vocal about things that he was, he felt passionately about.
Well, he talked about Kaepernick, for instance. He's talked about other social justice topics. But the one that struck me that was most personal was, I loved Kobe, all right? I'm not going front. Kobe was that dude.
Right, right.
But when he dropped the anti-gay slur in the game, I was conflicted, I was hurt, I hated him. I hated him for making me have to choose between my love for him in the game and who I was as a man. So when Jason Collins came out and I saw that Kobe was one of the first ones to step out there and support him, it just made everything better. It's just like I got to see him go through that period too and then come out on the other side. And that was a beautiful thing to see. Because I didn't realize how much I loved him, Calvin, until he died.
Yeah, well, you're not alone with that. I think a lot of us, and I would say the same thing for me because you and I, what we do, the business we're in, Kobe or LeBron or this or that,
Right.
you always had to do that. But once we had time to reflect on what he meant to so many different people and why they felt that way, and I remember, I'll say this quickly, I spoke at a men's group at a church, and every week there was someone's new responsibility. You're gonna bring up a message. Then it was my week, and I was like, I'm not even the biggest Kobe, like the basketball player fan, because at that point it was Kobe, LeBron. So, but I'm gonna use him to get my point across about his approach to life, to everything else he's done, and how if we use that in our own lives in different facets, how much more successful we would be. And I think that personally is what will resonate. And I see that same approach off the basketball court when it came to film. The man won an Oscar.
The man didn't just win an Oscar. He recruited the best in the industry to help him put that film together. I mean, John Williams has like 59 Oscars or something like that.
Yeah,
He's had scored
62, 59,
all of your
100.
favorite films, basically. That's the man he turned to in order to help him get this message across. He wanted to be the best. He wanted to be surrounded by the best. He tapped into the energy of the best to help him produce the best. And he did that in basketball, and he did that in other aspects of his life as well.
I guess lasting legacy, not just on the court, but off the court, the man, what would you say that it is? And again, we haven't had much time to really reflect. It's still the wound is so fresh, but Kobe's lasting legacy, what will you tell your grandchildren?
I don't have to tell them because my son will. And this is the story. There were only 2 basketball players. My son's not a big basketball fan. There were only 2 basketball players that I required him to see with me. We left Michigan, came all the way out to LA because he needed to see Kobe in Staples. That's how much he meant to me. And my son FaceTimed me and he was like, Dad, did you see it? And he was upset and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, we took that road trip to see him and I'm so glad we did. And I'm sure my story is not the only one.
Remember, I know you were there, his last game, 2016. I think it was April 13, 2016, his last game, and you knew it was going to be big in LA, right? We all knew that, but I didn't expect that. And it was incredible to see, and then him passing and seeing what we saw again at LA Live at Staples Center was remarkable. LZ, it's great doing this with you, and I know you have a lot more to say about Kobe in the days to come.